All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Be seated. Mr. Court Officer, please call the case.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is the file number KSCVC 2020-06, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Thaçi, Kadri Veseli, Recep Selimi, and Yakut Krasniqi. Thank you, Your Honor.
I note for the record that the accused are all present in court today. Today we will start hearing the evidence of defense witness 1DW004. Before we start, there are a few preliminary matters the panel would like to address. First, on September 17th, 2025, the panel marked a video with evidence reference number 128791-02 and its transcript for identification as P04492. The video is a BBC documentary called Moral Combat, NATO at War. The SPO tendered this video and its transcript during cross-examination of Thaçi defense witness 1DW003 for the purpose of impeachment and the truth of its contents. The Thaçi defense objected to its admission, arguing that the witness doesn't know anything about the video and added nothing to it. Contrary to the SPO's submission, the panel is not satisfied that the video goes to credibility of IDW003. However, the panel is satisfied that the video is relevant since the content is sufficiently linked to issues material to this case, including Mr. Thaçi's position and his conduct at the Rambouillet conference. Regarding authenticity, the panel is satisfied of its prima facie authenticity, as the video bears relevant markings of its origin, including the reporter's name, the broadcasting agency, and the date when it was first broadcasted. Regarding probative value, the panel is satisfied that sufficient contextualization has been provided in relation to the video. The panel is further satisfied that the prima facie probative value of the video is not outweighed by any prejudice, since the other parties had the opportunity to question the witness about it. Therefore, the panel finds that MFI P04492 meets the requirements of Rule 138 and admits the portion from 44 minutes 2 seconds to 45 minutes 30 seconds and corresponding pages 9 to 10 of the transcript into evidence. Considering that other parts of the same video are already in evidence, the now admitted part will be added to the existing exhibit P04487. The panel directs CMU to vacate the video's MFI status. This concludes the first oral order. The second oral order concerns V00036, a report dated 23 May 2022, prepared by the small I MMO experts Karen Due Prinsen and Sonia Sven van Langen in Case 05, which I will hereafter refer to as the IMMO Case 05 report. On 18 September 2025, as instructed by the panel in the decision on the admission of expert reports submitted by Victims' Counsel, which is F03451 at paragraphs 50 and 60E, Victims' Counsel disclosed to the parties and participants a redacted version of the admitted portion of the IMMO Case 05 report. The redacted portions of the IMMO Case 05 report concern parts of that report that relate to scarring of an individual, evidence not relied upon by Victims' Counsel in this case. Given that the panel only assessed that part of the IMMO Case 05 report that pertained to the issue of mental harm and excluded from its assessment the portion not relied on by the victim's counsel, the panel directs the CMU to replace the unredacted version of V00036 with the redacted version recently disclosed by victim's counsel, which will in turn become the authoritative version of V00036. This concludes the second oral order. Yesterday, the SPO indicated by email to the panel and parties and participants that it will be seeking to leave to start cross-examination of witness 1 DW004 not earlier than Wednesday, 1 October 2025. The SPO indicated that the reason for this request was the late disclosure of the preparation notes as well as its length. Do either of the parties or participants wish to respond?
Just briefly, Mr. President, I think the panel knows how we got here with this witness, so I would challenge the assertion that we're late. We did the best we could under the circumstances to produce the note. That's the first point. The second point is we have no objection to them starting tomorrow, provided that we finish with this witness this week and don't have to make him come back. If that can be ensured, then we have no objection.
The panel recalls that pursuant to paragraphs 94 and 96 of the Order on the Conduct of Proceedings, subject to the witness's availability and travel logistics, the calling party shall endeavor to complete its preparation sessions as early as possible, and in any event, at least 24 hours before the witness's testimony is due to commence. Similarly, the calling party shall provide the non-calling parties and participants and panel with all of the information that is subject to the calling party's disclosure obligations at least 24 hours before testimony. In the case of 1DW004, the preparation notes containing such information were disclosed slightly less than the 24 hours before testimony. For this reason, and considering that the request of delayed start for cross-examination does not result in excessive waste of court time, the panel exercises its discretion to accept the SPO's request to start cross-examining 1DW004 tomorrow, Wednesday, 1 October. This concludes the third oral order. Lastly, the panel wishes to remind the parties and the participants that pursuant to paragraph 81 of the Order on the Conduct of Proceedings, it is the presenting party's responsibility to ensure that at the conclusion of the evidence of a witness, there is another witness ready to begin to testify. Similarly, if one of the proposed witnesses is not able to testify at the scheduled time, or if there is no cross-examination of a witness, or if cross-examination proceeds faster than expected, the presenting party shall ensure that an alternative witness can be called so as to avoid any delay in the proceedings. The panel observes that since the beginning of the month, there have been several hours of hearing days which could not be used. Mindful to use hearing days to the fullest, the panel asks the defense to do its best to have witnesses ready to testify without interruption in the next block. Madam Court Officer, or I'm sorry, Mr. Court Officer, please bring the witness in. Good morning, witness.
Good morning, sir.
The court usher will now provide you with a text of the solemn declaration which you are asked to take pursuant to Rule 141, Paragraph 2 of our rules. Please take a look at it and then read it aloud.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony and my legal responsibility, I solemnly declare that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that I shall not withhold anything which has come to my knowledge.
Thank you, witness. You can be seated now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Witness, today we will start your testimony, which is expected to last approximately 2 or as much as 3 days. As you may know, the Thaçi defense will ask you questions first. Once they are finished, the other defense teams and the prosecution have the right to ask questions of you, and members of the panel may have questions for you. The Thaçi defense estimate for your examination is 4 hours. The 3 other defense teams estimate that they will need about a half an hour. The SPO estimates that it will need 5 hours for cross-examination. As regards each estimate, we hope that counsel will be judicious in the use of their time. We hope that, the panel may allow redirect examination by the panel and re-examination by the prosecution, or the defense, I should say in this case, if conditions for it have been met. Witness, please try to answer the questions clearly with short sentences. If you don't understand a question, feel free to ask counsel to repeat the question or tell them you don't understand and they will clarify. Also, please try to indicate the basis of your knowledge of facts and circumstances that you will be asked about. In the event you are asked by the defense to attest to some corrections made regarding your statements, you are reminded to confirm on the record that the written statement, as corrected by the list of corrections, accurately reflects your declaration. Please also speak into the microphones, and please wait 5 seconds before answering a question and then speak at a slow pace so the interpreters can catch up. During the next days, while you are giving evidence in this court, you are not allowed to discuss with anyone the content of your testimony outside of the courtroom. If any person asks you questions outside the court about your testimony, please let us know. Please stop talking if I ask you to do so, and also stop talking if you see me raise my hand. These indications mean that I need to give you an instruction. If you feel the need to take a break, please make an indication and an accommodation will be made. We begin first with the questions from the Thaçi defense. They will have some questions for you, and then we will proceed with other defense members, and then the SPO. Go ahead, Mr. Misitich.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Kobe.
Good morning.
We have met before, but for the record, my name is Luka Misitich, and I am Specialist Counsel for Mr. Hashim Thaçi. Could you please state your full name for the record?
My full legal name is James Peter Covey, but I'm known professionally and to my friends as Jock Covey.
Thank you. And could you please state your date of birth?
March 7, 1944.
And what is your nationality?
American, USA.
I could already tell that we were talking a bit too fast, so I will try to pause between question and answer, and I would ask you to do the same because sometimes I forget.
Sorry.
Did you give a statement to the Thaçi defense which you signed on the 12th of August, 2025?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Court Officer, could you please bring up DHT 11849 to DHT 11864, please? Mr. Covey, do you recognize the first page of this document?
I do.
And is this a record of the statement you gave to the Thaçi defense?
Yes.
Mr. Court Officer, could we turn to the last page, DHT, or turn to page DHT 11863, which should be the second to last page. If we could scroll to the bottom, please. Mr. Covey, is that your signature that you see on the screen?
Yes, it is.
And did you sign this document?
Yes, I did.
Did you have a chance to review the document before you signed it?
Yes.
Did you have another chance to review this document beginning last week and this week?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to meet with me and my colleagues this week?
Yes, I did.
And in those meetings, were you given an opportunity to make corrections and clarifications to this document?
Yes.
Do you recall those clarifications and corrections being recorded in a note which was read back to you?
Yes.
For the record, preparation note 1 is DHT 12068 to DHT 12073. And subject to those clarifications and corrections that you gave us this week and that we recorded in the note, is the information you provided in the statement to the Thaçi defense accurate and truthful to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
And subject to those corrections and clarifications recorded in the note, does the information provided in your witness statement to the Thaçi defense accurately reflect what you would say if you were asked the same questions again in court as you were asked when you provided the witness statement?
Yes.
Your Honor, we move for the admission of the witness statement DHT 11849 to DHT 11864 and the associated exhibits that were provisionally admitted by the trial panel in decision F03452, and we also tender preparation note 1, DHT 12068 to DHT 12073 for admission.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
No objection being heard. DHT 11849 to 11864, DHT 12068 to 12073, and all associated exhibits as listed are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honors. The statement, which is DHT 11849 to DHT 11864, will be signed exhibit number 1D00390, currently classified as confidential. The preparation note 1, DHT 12068 to DHT 12073, will be signed exhibit number 1D00391. As for the associated exhibits, the range, which is DHT 05053 to DHT 05112, and the pages DHT 05056 to DHT 05057 will be assigned exhibit number 1D00392, classified as confidential. From the same range, which is DHT 05053 to DHT 05112, pages DHT 05082 to DHT 05084 will be assigned exhibit number 1D00393, classified as confidential. The same mentioned range and the pages DHT 05093 to DHT 05096 will be assigned exhibit number 1D00394, classified as confidential. The same mentioned range and the pages DHT 05098 to DHT 05102 will be assigned exhibit number 1D00395, classified as confidential. the same mentioned range and the pages DHT 05104 to DHT 05104 will be assigned exhibit number 1D 00396, classified as confidential, and again the same mentioned range. The pages DHT 05106 to DHT 05108 will be assigned exhibit number 1D 00397, classified as confidential. And in the same range, pages DHT 05110 to DHT 05110 will be assigned exhibit number 1D 00398, classified as confidential. The next ERN number is DHT 05589 to DHT 05591 will be assigned exhibit number 1D 00399, classified as confidential. And the last exhibit number, which is SPOE 00203 200 to 00203209, will be assigned exhibit number 1D 00400, classified as confidential. Thank you, Your Honors.
Any reason to remain confidential on these documents?
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, Mr. President, I think most of them can be public, but we will give you after the 10 o'clock break, I propose to tell you which have to remain confidential and the rest can be made public.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you. On 26 September 2025, the Thaçi defense submitted a proposed summary of this witness's now admitted Rule 154 statement to the panel and all parties and participants. We have not received any objection to the proposed summary, so Mr. President, I ask for your leave to read the summary now.
Leave is granted. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jack Covey served in Kosovo as the principal deputy of the special representative of the Secretary General, Bernard Kouchner, from July 15, 1999 through January 2001. In this role, Mr. Covey played a crucial role in the implementation of the mandate of the United Nations mission in Kosovo, also known as UNMIK, under United Nations Security Council Resolution 1244 in Kosovo, and worked closely with local representatives, stakeholders, and political figures, including Hashim Thaçi. He provides evidence about Mr. Thaçi's role in working with UNMIK to help stabilize Kosovo by speaking out against violence and calling for tolerance, committing to the demilitarization of the KLA, supporting the creation of the Kosovo Police Service and Kosovo Protection Corps, and participating in efforts to involve local participation in governance, such as the Kosovo Transitional Council and the joint interim administrative structures. His observations led him to conclude that Mr. Thaçi had no real authority over the Kosovo Liberation Army, with most of the KLA's virtually autonomous strongmen harboring little to no respect for Mr. Thaçi, that Mr. Thaçi was not in a position either to organize or stop the violence that occurred during the summer of 1999, and that Mr. Thaçi's role and ambitions were that of a politician who showed himself to be able to work with UNMIK and capable of compromise. And that concludes the summary, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. Covey, just for your understanding, your witness statement has now been admitted into evidence, and we don't need to repeat what's already in your witness statement. So I will have some follow-up questions, mostly on new matters that are not contained in your witness statement. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay. In paragraph 79 of your witness statement, you say that, quote, "I never saw Mr. Thaçi as having any power or meaningful influence over the KLA. This observation is based not only on reports from highly trusted sources, but also having witnessed firsthand Mr. Thaçi's humiliating isolation in the presence of the KLA's real strongmen. And in preparation note 1, paragraph 10X, you state that these highly trusted sources included General Sir Mike Jackson. Do you recall that?
I do.
At paragraphs 61 to 62 of your witness statement, you discuss a meeting in September 1999 where General Wesley Clark flew into Kosovo to use his authority to help persuade the KLA regional commanders to agree to the completion of demobilization.
Could the speakers kindly be asked to slow down? Thank you.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Yes. And in paragraph 62, you say that this was the first time that you and Mr. Kushner could see Mr. Thaçi with the regional commanders in the same space. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
In preparation note 1 on page 4 at paragraph 10R, you explain a painting that is in General Jackson's book, and I would like to ask the court officer to please call up that painting, which is at SPOE 002-12586 to 002-12692 at page SPOE 002-12620.
Your Honor, if I may, that's an exhibit. It's exhibit P2521.
It's my understanding, Mr. President, that that page of the book is not part of the prosecution exhibit, but I could be corrected.
The painting is, but that's the exhibit number of the painting. But
Okay. Then, yeah, thank you to counsel, and yeah, we would prefer then to use the admitted exhibit number. So P2521. Yeah. Mr. Covey, do you recall this painting?
I do.
Did you participate in any way in the creation of this painting?
As it turns out, yes.
And how did you participate?
The artist showed me his painting in progress because he intended to paint me into it. In fact, he had painted me in. This is me. I am the fellow in the yellow tie immediately to the left of Cheku. And I asked him, would he please paint in the police chief, who was ill at the time and did not attend the particular meeting that this depicted, because the police chief was an important functionary and I felt he should be part of the historical record. The artist kindly did so, and also at my request minimized my image, since I tend to be a bit camera shy.
Thank you. And if we could scroll up to the top of the page, please. If we could zoom in on the corner with the picture of what, yes. The person that's in that picture in the upper right-hand corner, do you recognize who that person is?
The one closest to his brush
Yes.
is Mike Jackson.
No, I mean the person in the photo in the upper right-hand corner, not of the painting, but of the page. Yes, if we could zoom in for the witness and scroll over to the right-hand portion of the page. The person in the blue shirt?
Oh, that would be Bernard Kushner.
No, again,
I-
upper part of the page and the far right, the person who is apparently painting something on the painting.
Oh, I no longer remember his name.
But who was he generally?
We're talking about the fellow in the blue shirt with the long hair.
Yes.
He appeared only, as far as I know, at with K4's permission to paint this picture.
Okay, so he is the artist who drew it.
He is the artist. Yes.
We see in there he has various pictures of people in this near his canvas. Did you see that at the time when you were working with him?
No, I only saw his painting in progress because he just wanted to see enough of me to paint me in.
Okay. In preparation note 1, page 4, paragraph 10R, you explain that this painting depicted the typical scene at a meeting of the Joint Implementation Council, or JIC, but not the last meeting involving Mr. Thaçi that you discuss in paragraph 62 of your witness statement. Do you recall that?
Yes, and that is correct. This was typical of the preparatory meetings chaired by General Jackson to hammer out the details of implementing the understanding.
Yes. And in the same paragraph of preparation note 1, you state that other than at that last meeting, you are not sure that Mr. Thaçi ever attended any prior JIC meetings, although K4 records might show that he attended some. Is that correct?
That is correct. I attended a number of these preparatory meetings and do not recall Mr. Thaçi ever being present at the preparatory meetings.
Yes. If we can now show the actual painting, please. Could you tell us who is sitting in what positions in the painting?
Going clockwise around the table, the fellow in the white shirt is the political advisor. The
Political advisor to whom?
military advisor to Mike Jackson, to General Jackson. The officer to his left, I do not recall the name. Then there is Mike Jackson. Continuing around the table, Bernard Kushner, then the police chief, and then me. And then Mr. Cheku, and I do not recall who the Uchika officer was at the far right.
Okay. Would the KLA be sitting on the opposite side of General Jackson at the table typically?
Yes. General Cheku generally sat opposite General Jackson, and other regional commanders sat out of the picture to the left behind General Cheku.
To the left or to the
I mean,
right?
to the right.
Yeah.
To the right.
Okay. With the assistance of the court usher, I will ask you to please use the screen in front of you, and if you could sketch now for the last meeting, the seating arrangements and where Mr. Thaçi sat at that last meeting in relation to everyone else seated around a table like this. So I think the court officer will be able to help you with drawing.
Is my understanding correct that we should move the current document from
Yes.
the... Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With apologies, I am not an artist or a proper draftsman, but I'll do my best. At the top of the room was a kind of dais where sat General Jackson and Wes Clark and several other officers from K4.
Could you make a one for those, for that? Yes. Thank you.
Then there was a table here where sat a cast of characters similar to what was depicted in the painting, with Bernard Kouchner, Sven, the police chief, was not there. I was there, and I do not recall if there was a third UNMIK person present.
Could you put a two there, please?
Here, there were folding chairs and as I recall it, Cheku sat, in my mind's eye, I have him here. And then this section, all unfolding chairs, was populated by the regional commanders.
And just for the record, this section with the regional commanders you have depicted on the sketch with a square composed of dotted lines.
Yes,
You could please-
because they were in chairs, not at a table, as I recall it.
And could you put a three there, please?
Here, also on chairs, sat Mr. Thaçi with one or two other individuals, apart from the commanders.
Could you put a four there, please? Thank you. Mr. President, I propose that we take a screen capture of this and I tender it into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
The screenshot will be marked for, marked as an exhibit, please, and admitted.
If I can have a moment to save the document, thank you.
Yes.
Your Honor, would I be permitted a scratch pad so that I could make notes? I find as time goes on, point 2 gets lost while I'm making point 1.
We have no objection to you having a pad and a pen, but you will not be allowed to remove it from the court.
That's quite fine.
When you're finished, those notes will be destroyed.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Your Honor, I thank you.
Your Honor, the sketch that was drawn by the witness will be assigned exhibit number 1D00401. If we can have a clarification of the classification. Thank you.
It can be public.
So it's reclassified as public.
Thank you.
And 1D00401 is admitted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Covey, did Mr. Thaçi participate in the discussion in any way during this final meeting?
No, as I recall it, and it made quite an impression at the time, he did not participate. He was neither called upon nor did he volunteer.
Who spoke at the meeting on behalf of the KLA?
General Cheku.
Did you see the KLA commanders speak to Mr. Thaçi?
No, and perhaps I can say something about that in more detail, but
Please do.
This stands out vividly in memory because it seemed to emphatically confirm what we had believed virtually from the beginning of our acquaintance with Mr. Thaçi, that he had a very slender relationship with the field commanders of the KLA, and that they had little time, or perhaps more emphatically, they evidenced no respect for him. In fact, on this occasion, if you look at that diagram, may I go back just a little?
Sure.
General Jackson, who famously had a contretemps with Wes Clark over the Russian efforts to take the airfield before KFOR could enter Kosovo. Wes Clark and General Jackson, to their great credit, had gotten past that very serious disagreement. And when General Jackson needed help bringing the KLA commanders over the line, that is, to accept the conditions for implementing the undertaking, specifically the arrangements for the creation of the Kosovo Protection Force, a civilian, unarmed organization. We were right up against, or KFOR was right up against the deadline and needed some help persuading the commanders to give a positive response. General Clark gave a very spirited presentation, going on at some length about the importance of the legend of Cincinnatus, and in the end, even pulling up his tunic to show that even he was unarmed and subject to civilian control. At the end of Wes Clark's presentation, General Jackson called a break, and people gravitated to the refreshments, which were off the page to the left. Everyone gravitated except Mr. Thaçi. Remained where he was, and the other commanders chatted among themselves and eagerly, if they spoke English, chatted with General Clark, and pointedly did not engage Mr. Thaçi, did not even look in his direction. As an observer, it seemed to me their behavior was virtually contemptuous. I was very surprised. though it brought home what we had believed from the very beginning, that Mr. Thaçi really had no meaningful relationship with that body of field commanders, and that it was highly unlikely that they would seek his guidance, let alone take orders or report their activities to him.
Following up on that, what was your understanding at the time of why the regional commanders or the zone commanders needed to be spoken to by General Clark, as opposed to, for example, just speaking to Mr. Cheku or Mr. Thaçi? What was your understanding of why the zone commanders had to be spoken to by the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO?
As we understood it at the time, there was no central command. General Cheku was by far the most influential individual within the KLA, but he did not seem to be in a position to simply speak for it, and needed to know that they were in agreement. And during that meeting, we could see General Cheku very calmly, not in any pleading way, look over his shoulder to continue to check that the commanders were basically with him as they discussed the details of the agreement. So let's say it seemed to us that Cheku needed to know that he had a consensus among the field commanders. And it made perfect sense to us because we understood the KLA to be a more of a movement than an army, with each individual zone or field commander having great autonomy, whether in reality or just in their imagination. They felt they could do what they chose to do within their zone. That was our understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Kobe. I'd like to turn to a different topic. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen DHT 05465 to DHT 05471, please. And Mr. Kobe, just to orient you, this is a UNMIC code cable from the 5th of July from Mr. Sergio De Mello. I know it's about 10 days before your arrival in Kosovo, but nevertheless, I'd like to take you to page DHT 05466, please. And if we could scroll to point number 1. And there we read a report that, quote, the SRSG informed that he had conveyed to Thaçi the protest of Bishop Artemie and Mr. Trajkovic on the incidents in the night of the 2nd of July. Thaçi had distanced himself from those incidents and offered to make a public announcement to that effect. And if we move to the next page, which is DHT 05467, under conclusion, it states, quote, Thaçi's willingness to make a public statement distancing himself from the 2 July incidents took away the Serbs' argument to stop working with the Kosovo Albanians. Rhetorics aside, they now look ready to participate in the KTC. Does this note correspond to your general recollection of Mr. Thaçi's approach to ethnic violence?
Yes. I will, I think we may discuss the first and second meetings of the KTC that we witnessed. Of course, this particular report precedes our arrival, but it is consistent with what we observed later of Mr. Thaçi's public behavior.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this, this document in evidence DHT 05465 to DHT 05471.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05465 to 05471 is admitted.
This will be assigned exhibit number 1D00402, and it's classified as confidential.
I believe it can be public. It can be public.
Reclassify it as public.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, Mr. Court Officer, if we could please call up DHT 01307 to DHT 01308. And Mr. Kobe, this is a OSCE situation brief from the 10th of July, 1999. And if we could turn the page, please. Yes. And I'll just read it out to you and then ask you a question. This reports on something that happened on the 9th of July. The headline is Albanian authorities in Kosovo condemn intrusions into Serb flats. The local authority board of the Kosovo Albanian Transitional Government, led by Hashim Thaçi, met with the chairman of 25 Kosovo municipalities appointed as heads of the Albanian authorities after the entrance of KFOR troops into Kosovo. They condemned the intrusions by ethnic Albanians into Serb flats and houses. Does the text correspond to your contemporaneous understanding of Mr. Thaçi's approach to ethnic tensions after the conflict?
Yes, this was before we arrived and came to our attention only afterwards. But it is consistent with the impression we had of Mr. Thaçi's approach as it emerged over time.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this document into evidence. DHT 01307 to DHT 01308.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 01307 to 01308 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. This will be assigned exhibit number 1D00403, and we can clarify the classification.
It should remain confidential. Mr. Court Officer, could we please have on the screen Exhibit 1D00361, please? If we could turn to the next page, please. Mr. Kobe, this appears to be an UNMIC memo dated the 5th of October, 1999. And it's sent from Bernard Kouchner, and there are some initials next to his name. Do you recognize those initials?
Yes. As you can see, before his name, there's a scribble that means for, and I signed it, I initialed it myself in his place. We often did this on things that were clearly understood between us, and there was no need to go follow a bureaucratic route and have him sign everything. I would note in passing that we made every effort to treat the role of the principal deputy as if in tandem with the SRSG, not as a box through which things had to go.
Thank you. If we look at the first paragraph, it says UNMIC offices at all levels receive written communications from the so-called Government of Kosovo or the Interim Government of Kosovo entities. It has been the policy of the mission to return such letters to the sender without response, since the mission does not want to be put in a position of recognizing these entities. This policy does not restrict the daily contacts which UNMIC staff members have with the representatives of the so-called government entities. Now, the memo says that this, quote, has been the policy of UNMIC to return letters to the sender if they came from the government of Kosovo or the interim government of Kosovo. Do you recall whether this policy was in place in or around July of 1999 when you arrived?
I believe so, yes. It was our intention, and I would like to believe that in every instance we returned, but I would not be shocked if there were errors along the way. But it was our intention to return without comment so that we would not, in effect, recognize the existence of the PGOK.
Pursuant to this policy, would UNMIC accept a document sent by Mr. Thaçi if he signed it as the Prime Minister of the Provisional Government of Kosovo, or would UNMIC return it as a matter of policy?
As a matter of policy, I'm sorry, I should slow down. As a matter of policy, we would return it.
Thank you. Mr. President, I see the time.
Mr. Covey, we'll give you a 10-minute break at this time.
Thank you.
We'll reconvene at 10 minutes after the hour.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
We're adjourned until 10:10.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated.
Mr. President.
You have your report back.
Yes. Mr. President, we believe that all of our exhibits can be made public except for 1D394 and 1D395, which need to remain confidential at the request of a Rule 107 provider. And we are waiting to hear back from the SPO on their position on 1D397, on whether that needs to remain confidential.
It can be public.
Okay, then the only two exhibits that need to remain confidential are 1D394
All right.
and 1D395.
All the associated exhibits except 1D00394 and 395 will be made public, reclassified as public. Those two will remain confidential. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Madam Court Officer, bring the witness in, please. All right, Mr. Misitich, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Covey, I asked you earlier this morning some questions about the final JIC meeting, and I wanted to follow up by asking you of the relationship between General Cheku and Mr. Thaçi. Did you perceive Mr. Thaçi to be General Cheku's boss?
Did I perceive Mr. Thaçi to be General Cheku's boss?
Correct.
Absolutely not.
When you say absolutely not, why are you so sure?
They seemed, in my observation, to be very correct with each other. I do not clearly recall direct exchanges between them, certainly never in the form of one giving the other direction. And there always seemed to be a great reserve. It was rare in our experience that they were, in fact, in the same space.
You did witness them once in the same space, at least once,
Yes.
and that was at the JIC final meeting there with General Clark, I should say.
Yes.
Did you see General Cheku consulting with Mr. Thaçi?
No.
If we could go, please, to Exhibit P880, please. Mr. Covey, are you familiar with the letter that's on your screen? And if we could show the bottom as well, please.
Yes.
Okay. It's a letter purported to have been sent by Hashim Thaçi, General Commander of the UÇK, to Bernard Kouchner, pursuant to the Agreement on Demilitarization of the UÇK of 21 June 1999, made between COMK4 and UÇK, requesting to enable some command personnel to legally belt arms. Do you recall the letter?
I do.
Did you perceive Mr. Thaçi at the time to be the general commander of the KLA?
I did not. We did. I could speak for UNMIC. UNMIC did not regard him as the commander.
Did you ever have a conversation subsequent to this letter with Mr. Thaçi about the letter?
No, I did not.
Did Mr. Thaçi ever follow up, to your knowledge, with UNMIC about this request?
No. May I comment on that?
Please.
As diplomats and bureaucrats, we're very familiar with the duty to carry a bucket occasionally to serve some interest. And it appeared to us at the time, immediately upon receipt, and in my mind, I feel I discussed this with Bernard Kouchner, that he was making a gesture. It seemed that for some reason it was in his interest to at least submit the letter. He did not accompany it with any comments that lent urgency to it. He did not return to it in other exchanges. He did not follow up. He did not try to leverage his cooperation on other issues to get traction on this issue. That behavior over the ensuing weeks confirmed for us that it was just carrying a bucket to execute a task that somehow served some other interest.
Did UNMIC ever respond to this letter, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge. In fact, I think I can say quite clearly, because we were in such full agreement that this was beyond the pale of anything we would agree to. In fact, it was not ours to do. This was basically a KFOR matter. But no, we did not respond.
Thank you. Turning to a different topic, what was your understanding at the time of your service in Kosovo of the date that the conflict between the KLA and Serb forces ended?
Our understanding was that the conflict formally ended with the agreement of the Serbs to withdraw, which I believe was signed on the 20th of June. I can't quite do that from memory, but there was a document, and that document having been executed, that ended the conflict in a formal sense.
If we could, Mr. Court Officer, please have on the screen P02563 at PDF page 24, which is ERN page SPOE 00000772, please. If we could just first show the first page so the witness knows what the document is. This is a report to the Security Council by the Secretary General dated the 12th of June, 1999, pursuant to paragraph 10 of Security Council Resolution 1244. And now if we could go to page 24. And in paragraph 88 at the top, the Secretary General reports, well, first, before I ask that question, the reports that the Secretary General would submit to the Security Council, did UNMIC have any involvement in the preparation of those reports?
Yes. UNMIC would generally prepare its own report, which would become feedstock for the Secretary General's reports.
Okay. So if we look at paragraph 88, it says a particularly acute human rights problem in Kosovo is uncertainty about the whereabouts of family members who have gone missing during the conflict. Abductions have also occurred after the conflict ended. And this is the dated the 12th of July, 1999. Is it correct in terms of what your understanding was at the time that the conflict in Kosovo had ended before the 12th of June, 99?
Yes, that is my understanding.
And Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen Exhibit 1D00254, please.
If I could,
Please.
just as a footnote, we always spoke of our work as post-conflict.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Covey, this is an UNMIC regulation that was issued on the 21st of December, 2000. You were still in your post at this time, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. If we could please scroll or go to paragraph 1.5, and but before we do that, I'm sorry, let me just read the title for the record and so you're oriented. It's an UNMIC regulation on the benefits for war invalids of Kosovo and for the next of kin of those who died as a result of the armed conflict in Kosovo. And if we could go to paragraph 1.5, please. The regulation says, for the purpose of the present regulation, the armed conflict in Kosovo is deemed to have occurred between 27 February 1998 and 20 June 1999. And if we could now have on the screen Exhibit 1D00255, please. And this is a regulation, issued in 2006, so after your time in Kosovo, on the resolution of claims relating to private immovable property, including agricultural property and commercial property. And if we could please go to page 2 of this document, to paragraph 3.1. The regulation says, the Kosovo Property Agency shall, through the Executive Secretariat, have the competence to receive and register, and through the Property Claims Commission, have the competence to resolve, subject to the right of appeal to the Supreme Court of Kosovo, the following categories of conflict-related claims involving circumstances directly related to or resulting from the armed conflict that occurred between 27 February 1998 and 20 June 1999. Now, Mr. Covey, was it UNMIC's determination that the armed conflict in Kosovo ended on the 20th of June 1999?
Yes.
Were you aware of any armed clashes between the KLA and Serbian troops after 20 June 1999?
I am not aware of any clashes that could be considered combat.
Are you aware of any clashes between?
No, but I don't exclude the possibility that there was some friction, but nothing that was brought to our attention.
Were you aware of any combat casualties among KLA or Serbian troops after the 20th of June 1999?
No.
Were any cities or towns in Kosovo besieged by combatants after the 20th of June 1999?
No. I should say, not that I am aware of.
Were any roads in Kosovo blocked by combatants after the 20th of June, 1999?
Not that I am aware of.
Were any heavy weapons fired in combat in Kosovo after the 20th of June, 1999?
Again, not that I am aware of.
Are you aware of any civilians fleeing a combat zone or any civilian casualties caused by fighting between the KLA and Serbian forces after the 20th of June, 1999?
I am not that I'm aware of.
Are you aware of any UN Security Council statements or resolutions that express any concerns about an ongoing armed conflict in Kosovo after the 20th of June, 1999?
No. No.
Thank you, Mr. Kobe. I'd now like to turn to Exhibit P 01980, please. Mr. Covey, as you can see on the screen, this is an outgoing code cable from Mr. Kushner dated the 21st of July, 1999, concerning political meetings. And if we could go to the next page, please, in section 1. You can read that. It says, it's a summary. Thaçi restated his goal of politicizing the UÇK. He wanted to help building a democratic multi-party Kosovo. Rugova was not willing to do that. He was a product of the old communist days. Thaçi renewed his demand for a leading role of the UÇK in the Kosovo police service. He reacted cautiously to the SRSG's proposal to enlarge the KTC, adding one member from a party close to Rugova's LDK. Now, if we could go down to section 1, please. Here it's reported that Mr. Kushner, the SRSG, stressed that it was important that Thaçi commit himself to a democratic multi-party Kosovo. Some of UÇK's current actions were unhelpful, like government ministers issuing decrees with official seals. And then if we go to the next paragraph, Thaçi agreed. He wanted to normalize life, integrate people into civil life, get students into universities, etc. For this, democratic institutions had to be established. He did not want to have a monopoly over political and social life. Lasting democracy in Kosovo could only be achieved if the entire Balkans were free, democratic, and had open borders. The SRSG agreed. But to get stability in the Balkans, it was important to win in Kosovo. Now, Mr. Covey, were you present for this meeting?
Yes.
And do you recall where it took place?
Yes, it took place at Mr. Thaçi's residence.
Now, in section 1 here, Mr. Kushner says he told Mr. Thaçi that he should commit to a democratic multi-party Kosovo, and in response, Mr. Thaçi is reported to have agreed, saying he wanted democratic institutions to be established and noting that he did not want a monopoly on power. Was it your understanding that Mr. Thaçi had in fact made the commitment at this meeting to a democratic multi-party Kosovo?
To be fair, I think we could say he stated his commitment. It's hard to read hearts in that kind of situation, and this was the beginning of getting to know him.
Understood. Thank you. If we go to the next page under section 3, it's reported that Thaçi said it had been a mistake that Rugova had not participated in the first KTC. Kosovo did not belong to a particular party and should not be allowed to be held hostage by any singular group. The SRSG agreed the work at the KTC would continue, but it was important to get Rugova in. Now, do you recall there being an issue with trying to get the LDK and Mr. Rugova to participate in the KTC?
Your question concerns specifically Mr. Rugova's participation.
Yes.
Yes, Rugova at that point was absent entirely from Kosovo for reasons we did not at the time fully understand, leaving his LDK colleagues in some considerable confusion and indecision.
And is what is recorded here consistent with your recollection of Mr. Thaçi saying that Kosovo should not be allowed to be held hostage by any singular group?
Yes. To be fair, at the time, it sounded slightly ironic because the antipathy towards Rugova that was expressed didn't seem fully consistent with a fully democratic process. So this was part of feeling out how much of this animosity was directed at the single individual, or was it that he really wanted to clear the way for whatever party he might eventually represent to take the lead. We considered it part of the jockeying. It became, all of this became clearer later as people really thought through their interests.
Thank you. If we go to section 5 of the document, this is the discussion on policing. And here it says, Thaçi underlined that it was essential to quickly establish the Kosovo Police Service, KPS, in line with the UÇK undertaking on demilitarization and transformation. The UÇK should be favorized when creating the KPS. It would be a good idea to include an UÇK expert in UNMIK's selection commission. The SRSG said that he understood Thaçi's point. It was not a technical but a political question to which a political solution had to be found. Something had to be offered to the UÇK fighters, partly in the police, partly outside of it. Covey added, there was no need for special agreements for the UÇK. Experience from police departments of developed countries showed that outside applicants from armed services stood a very good chance, but it would be a mistake if the UÇK focused exclusively on the police. Now, do you recall this discussion at that meeting?
Yes, I do. It reflected my experience in Bosnia, where I was involved to some extent in the effort to create a community-based police force to replace the former Yugoslav police. The key difference being the police of the former Yugoslavia were there to protect the state, and the community policing that we aimed for would be police to protect the public, a fundamental difference. It actually turned out to be quite successful in Bosnia, but importantly because it meant that individuals applied to and were vetted and accepted individually. It was not a unit transfer. And what I was trying to get across there and in subsequent exchanges with Kosovars was that a KLA soldier could in fact be well qualified to become a police cadet and could succeed and make a good living and have a respectable social profile. And that is very important to what perhaps we might discuss later is called DDR, the whole process of disarming, disbanding, and reintegrating personnel from former fighting forces.
And as part of DDR, and here we see it recorded that Mr. Kushner said that something had to be offered to the UÇK fighters, partly in the police, partly outside of it. Was that important for the DDR?
That would come under the heading of R, reintegration.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that. And then if we go to the conclusion. And here it's recorded, in his first intensive discussion with the SRSG, Thaçi tried to present himself as a multi-party Democrat. He might mean it, but it is still unclear if he could rally the rest of the UÇK behind him. To keep the UÇK on the road to democratization, it will be important to manage a smooth reintegration of its ex-combatants into civilian life. For that, we will have to convince Thaçi, open parentheses, and more importantly, the more radical elements in the UÇK, close parentheses, that there are more important posts in civilian life than just the police service. Do you recall Mr. Kushner acknowledging to Mr. Thaçi that it was important to integrate former KLA fighters into the police force?
Yes.
And the note says that it was more important, or sorry, is it correct that it was unclear to UNMIK whether Mr. Thaçi had the influence to rally the rest of the KLA behind him on the road to democratization?
Yes, definitely.
And the note says that it was, quote, more important, close quote, to convince some of the, quote, more radical elements of the KLA, more radical elements in the UÇK, close quote. Do you know who the radical elements refers to? I never had a good layout of what the military would call the order of battle of the KLA that made clear exactly who was in charge of what in which region and reported to whom. A great deal of our understanding of the internal life of the KLA came from KFOR, which was primarily charged with implementing the understanding, had regular contacts with the KLA at all levels, and with whom the KLA obviously preferred to speak. They had no interest in really dealing directly with UNMIK. So can I just make a note that we're not relying on casual conversations. From the very first day that we were in
Kosovo, Kushner and I, we had a regular meeting with Mike Jackson at his headquarters at what is called Film City on the Hill for just a general exchange of information and with no particular agenda. And General Mike would provide a rundown of what he had learned and intended to do, and Kushner would provide likewise. Mostly a matter of Kushner saying what he needed in the way of support from K4. So there were not, let's say, subject matter briefings on here is the KLA and their current attitudes, but it was a subject of daily discussion back and forth, even though I could not now attempt to give you a rundown of the KLA personalities.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen DHT 05440 to DHT 05442, please. And this is an outgoing code cable from Mr. Kushner on the 26th of July, 1999, concerning meetings with the LDK. And if we could go to the next page, please. In the summary, it says the LDK and the parties of the LDK close parliament insist that they be given more seats in the Kosovo Transitional Council. And we could scroll down, please. Sorry, in section, yes, scroll down to the SRSG said. There's a point there that says, it discusses a meeting. First of all, let me just say, a meeting on the 22nd of July. If we could scroll back up just a little bit, please. A meeting that the SRSG had on the 22nd of July with 15-person strong LDK presidency. And then a dinner he had with Mr. Alush Gashi, a member of the presidency. 25 July, he met with Mr. Ayeti, Mr. Kurteshi, and Mr. George Deadeye, president of the Liberal Party. The meetings focused on the role of the LDK and the composition of the Kosovo Transitional Council. And if we could scroll now to the bottom bullet point. It says, the SRSG said that he would try to change the composition of the council, referring to the KTC. But it was important for the LDK to understand that the political realities in Kosovo had changed over the last 15 months. The LDK no longer was the only big political force. They had also signed the Rambouillet Agreement as an equal together with 3 other factors, UÇK, LBD, and the independents. That was making it difficult to put the initial, we can go to the next page, composition of the KTC upside down. But he was determined to give the LDK and the parties around it an additional 3rd seat. Now, you discuss in paragraph 44 of your witness statement the agreement at Rambouillet among the KLA, LDK, and LBD to create a Kosovo provisional, a provisional government of Kosovo. Did UNMIK use that Rambouillet agreement as a basis to allocate seats in the KTC?
Let's note carefully that Security Council Resolution 1244 overtook anything that was agreed at Rambouillet, whatever its status. The United Nations legally assigned UNMIK to be the administrator of that entity. That said, Sergio de Mello, as the interim SRSG, had to find some basis on which to assemble a vaguely representative group of people to work with, hopefully that would provide representation across the political landscape of Kosovo. It came as no surprise that he sort of built it on sort of the rough construction of Rambouillet. In no way did we regard that as somehow a template that we were required to follow, but it was a good place to start. But it was not, we didn't feel bound by it, but yes, it was a useful first draft.
Thank you. If we could now turn to Exhibit P00743.2. Mr. Kobe, this is an OSCE report titled As Seen, As Told about the human rights situation in Kosovo, including in the time period after the entry of NATO and UNMIK into Kosovo. And you can see the foreword there at the top of the page was written by the SRSG, Mr. Bernard Kouchner, and this was published in November of 1999. And if we could please turn to a portion of Mr. Kouchner's foreword. This is at page SITF 00001534, which is page 2. Oh, maybe not. Sorry. And to the paragraph that, no, that's not the right one. Yes, that's it. The paragraph that begins, "We are deeply concerned." It says, "We are deeply concerned about the situation of minorities. A close look at the trend in crime shows a clear improvement. A drop from 50 murders during each of the first weeks to 3 murders last week cannot be ignored. Of course, each and every crime is one too many, but things are changing. It is not fair to make comparisons with the situation before or during the war. At that time, and for at least a decade, there was a systematic policy of apartheid, a subhuman status, or at least a sub-community status for Albanians in Kosovo/Kosovo. This is no longer the case today. Perhaps it may seem just as bad today for the Serbs or Roma who live in fear, who cannot move about freely, or have to find a way to protect their children, but it is no longer a matter of a policy. All the parties in Kosovo/Kosovo, all leaders, Serbs and Albanians, have stated their positions in favor of a multi-ethnic society and coexistence among all communities. The crimes we see are the acts of individuals. No political party has claimed responsibility for them. Their representatives in the Kosovo Transitional Council have condemned these abuses every time, and they themselves have expressed their concern over these acts of intolerance. We cannot exclude the possibility of double talk, but we cannot presuppose it either." First, is what Mr. Kushner wrote here consistent with your impressions of the situation in Kosovo in the summer and fall of 1999?
Very much so, yes.
Is his assertion that the crimes that were being committed were no longer a matter of policy consistent with what you and Mr. Kushner and UNMIK were concluding at the time?
Certainly with regard to UNMIK, but by extension, the emerging consensus among the figures who would become the JIAS, the Joint Interim Administrative Structure. Yes.
Now, here he says, or he writes here, that all leaders, Serbs and Albanians, have stated their positions in favor of a multi-ethnic society and coexistence among all communities. Do you know if Mr. Thaçi is one of those leaders that he's referencing here?
I would include him in that, yes.
He goes on to say, their representatives in the Kosovo Transitional Council have condemned these abuses every time, and they themselves have expressed their concern over these acts of intolerance. Do you know if Mr. Thaçi is one of the people who is referenced here as having condemned the abuses and expressing their concern over acts of intolerance?
The reference to consistent expressions of the KTC, we have to make a footnote here. In the first KTC meeting, which would have been the mid-July, the 16th or 7th, somewhere around there, just after we arrived, there were such attitudes expressed. The second meeting was after the killings at Grachko. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the date, but that would have been soon after. Can you remind me the date of Grachko?
If there's no objection from the prosecution, yeah. I believe it's the 22nd of July.
Okay, so it was very shortly after the first meeting of the KTC. And at that meeting, Kushner had hoped to elicit a statement by the KTC as a group, as a whole, condemning the killings and expressing the need for nonviolence, etc., and was unable to obtain that. None of those present at that second KTC was willing to sign on to such a statement. At which point the Serb representatives, Bishop Artemije and Trajkovic and the others, walked out, effectively sinking the KTC as a functional body for that period. I would note that those who declined to participate in such a statement included Vetan Saroy, a great human rights advocate, but it also included Mr. Thaçi. We were puzzled, and I remained puzzled for some time, especially as I learned over time statements he had made previously and immediately after that KTC, expressing the very sentiments we wished the KTC to express. We never really understood that, so I have to qualify that sentence that suggested that the KCC had been entirely consistent. But I think, except for that instance, as far as I know, Mr. Thaçi generally had expressed exactly the sentiments that we had hoped the KTC would in that second meeting.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that Grachko KTC meeting, do you recall whether any Kosovo Albanians representatives had agreed to make such a statement, or?
No, none of those attending that meeting agreed to make such a statement, but Mr. Thaçi made a statement soon after that in his own name.
Okay, thank you very much.
Will we have an opportunity to talk about the risk of making such statements?
We will get to that in
Okay.
a minute. Let me just try to hit one more topic before our 11 o'clock
Please.
break. If we could please go to DHT 04827 to DHT 04838, please. And if we could go to page, sorry. And if we could please go, this is a now defunct online regional bulletin called the IWPR Balkan Crisis Report. But if we could go to page DHT 04829, please. It's, you can see the date 20 September 1999. And if we could go, please, to the paragraph that begins "meanwhile" at the bottom, I believe. Yes. It says, the article now, this is September. Meanwhile, the KLA leadership itself has disintegrated into a number of parties. The most noteworthy is the Party of Democratic Unity, PBD, led by Bardal Mahmouti, the former KLA political representative for Western Europe, which has managed to attract the support of several well-known and respected KLA field commanders. Hashim Thaçi, Prime Minister of Kosovo's interim government, not recognized by UNMIK, has also announced that he will form his own political party without giving details. Last week, Thaçi visited the village of Prekaz, where he met Rifat Yashari, the only surviving brother of the family of Adem Yashari, whose sacrifice is recognized by the Kosovars as the flashpoint where the War of Liberation began. If we can go to the next page, please. To the paragraph that begins, support from the Yashari family would be a powerful advantage in any election. Thaçi also met the KLA's Drenica zone commander in an attempt to confirm local support for his party in the making, but it also the division between Thaçi and Mahmouti, who has supporters of his own within segments of the KLA. Yet these new would-be political players have no clear aim or political agenda yet. My question to you is, you, as the Deputy SRSG, were you aware at the time that the KLA itself had, as this article says, disintegrated into various political factions?
We were aware that there was not a clear consensus among former KLA senior individuals. I can leave it at that. We were aware there was not a consensus. We did not really know with the degree of exactitude that this reporter pretends to have about who's for whom. Reporters do tend to try to read more into tea leaves than history supports. So
And it-
we wouldn't have taken the specifics of this report very seriously, but we were aware that there was not a consensus among the former KLA officers.
But the report says that Mr. Thaçi went to the KLA Drenica zone commander in an attempt to confirm support for his party. Is that consistent with your understanding of the type of relations that Mr. Thaçi had with the KLA?
Not really. That is, I would not have expected him to be, we would have expected a budding politician to be meeting and greeting constituents. But if I had read this at the time, I would have been a bit surprised that he was lobbying individual commanders, and especially this particular commander was a pretty tough guy.
Thank you. Mr. President, we tender this document into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Just the page or the entire document?
The entire document, I think.
I'm sorry.
The entire document.
DHT 0437 to 0438 is admitted.
It's 04827 to 04838, Mr. President.
What?
Is that what you said?
I have 437 to 438.
It should be 4827 to 4838, I believe. I'm
All
sure I
right.
misspoke, Mr. President.
All right. It's admitted.
Your Honors, DHT 04827 to DHT 04838 will be signed exhibit number 1D00404, and it's classified as public. Thank you, Your Honors.
We have a half-hour break scheduled for right now. We will reconvene at 25 minutes before the hour of 12. Please do not speak with anyone about your testimony outside of the courtroom, as I stated before you began. So you may leave the courtroom now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're adjourned until 11:35.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Mr. Misitich, you had something you wanted to tender?
Yes, a mea culpa from me. I forgot to tender a document that I put to the witness. And I'm fully aware that we're supposed to do that at the time, so I apologize to the court.
Go ahead.
DHT 05440 to DHT 05442, which is an UNMIC cable concerning a conversation that Mr. Kushner had with LDK representatives.
You are correct that it has not been tendered. Is there any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05440 to 05442 is admitted.
And it will be assigned exhibit number 1D00405, classified as confidential. Thank you, Your Honors.
It can be public.
Be reclassified as public. Madam Court Officer, you can bring the witness in. All right, Mr. Covey, we will continue with the examination by Mr. Misitich. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome back, Mr. Covey.
Thank you.
Were you aware in the summer and fall of 1999, and indeed into the winter of 99-2000, whether Mr. Rugova was continuing to hold himself out as the president of Kosovo?
That doesn't, not in a meaningful way. Not, it's, I don't have any strong recollection of that.
Okay,
no.
all right. We'll move on then. Can we please have on the screen DHT 00883 to DHT 00883? Mr. Covey, do you recognize what this is an image of?
It appears to be the first KTC meeting.
And can you identify the persons in this photo? Can I ask him actually to use the marker on the screen?
Okay.
And as you identify people, if you could put a number next to them.
Okay. I think this is Sergio de Mello. This is, of course, Kushner.
So 1 is DeMello, 2 is Kushner,
And this would be General Mike,
3 is General Jackson.
Bishop Artemier. I think this must be Mr. Trajkovic. This would be Mr. Thaçi, and this would be me.
Okay. So for the record, you've put a 0 next to yourself, a 3 by General Sir Mike Jackson, a 4 next to Bishop Artemier, a 5 to Mr. Trajkovic, and a 6 next to Mr. Thaçi. Mr. President, I'd ask that we have a screen capture of this and I tender it into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
The screenshot will be admitted. Please assign the number.
Your Honors, the screen with the markings will be assigned exhibit number 1D00406, and it was classified as public.
That's fine. Thank you. Mr. Covey, I'd now like to turn to the topic of the Joint Interim Administrative Structures, or the JIAS. And if we could please turn to DHT 05457 to DHT 05458, Mr. Court Officer. And Mr. Covey, you can see on the screen that this is an outgoing code cable from Mr. Kushner to, amongst others, the Secretary General Kofi Annan, dated the 16th of November, 1999. And if we could look at the first bullet point on this page. Sorry, at first let me start. The first paragraph says, as tasked by the SG, I had talks with the main Kosovo-Albanian political leaders, Thaçi, Rugova, and Çosia, between 12 and 15 November, on the issue of involving the people of Kosovo more directly in the UNMIK administration, thus making our administration more effective and accepted by the population. In the discussions, all leaders accepted my special role as SRSG, thus as legislative authority and ultimate decision maker. It was clear, therefore, that I would not participate directly in any joint administrative structure. Is what is stated here consistent with your contemporaneous understanding of the approach that Albanian leaders, including Mr. Thaçi, took with respect to the SRSG and its powers?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Mr. President. I tender this cable into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05457 to 05458 is admitted. Be assigned a exhibit number.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. It will be assigned with exhibit number 1D00407 and is classified as confidential.
Must this remain confidential?
No, it can be
All
public.
right, this can be reclassified as public.
Just 1 second, please. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen DHT 05754 to DHT 05760, please. Mr. Covey, this is another code cable from Mr. Kushner to the Secretary General of the UN. We could scroll down a bit. Point 2 says, upon this approval, the agreement was signed this morning by the 3 Kosovo-Albanian party leaders, Thaçi of the PPDK, Rugova of the LDK, and Çosia of the LBD, and witnessed and accepted by me. If we could turn the page, please. And do you recognize what this document is?
Yes.
And what is it?
This is the agreement to join together as the joint interim administrative structure.
Thank you. Mr. President,
I'm sorry. I'd have to note that this is a little emotional. This was this was a huge milestone.
and why was it huge for you?
All right, we're at risk of getting into classroom mode. But bear in mind the peacemaking is the business of turning the Clausewitz principle upside down. Clausewitz said, war is politics by other means. For us, peacemaking is the politics of peacemaking is war by other means, because initially, when the conflict is formally ended, nothing has been resolved. Whatever it was that drove the parties into conflict, those interests remain unsatisfied generally. And the only way to go forward is to get the former conflicting parties to reassess what they thought were their interests. And here we have the evidence that that has happened.
Thank you, Mr. Kobe. Mr. President, a document very similar to this has been admitted as 1D400, but this is a lesser redacted version, and we would like to tender this document as well, the lesser redacted version.
Any objection to the lesser redacted version?
Now, if we could maybe be point one of that exhibit so that it's clear.
It's fine with us.
We will attach it to the other exhibit by point one then.
Yes, so it's 1D400.1, I believe.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will confirm then DHT 05754 to DHT 05760 will be added, assigned exhibit number 1D00400.1, and it is classified as confidential.
It can be public.
It can be public, thank you.
It'll be reclassified as public then.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Court Officer, I'd like to play a video now, which is DHT 00930 to DHT 00930. If we could please play the video.
Yeah, Ambuya is coming again. Okay, you have to sign. And I'll be the last one as a witness. Historic.
Ricordation pozitivně para opinione cum branch la titia. Povestea sunt răscumpărință cu mine.
Thank you. We can stop the video. Mr. Kobe, do you recognize what that event depicted in the video was?
That was the signing of the JS.
And were you present?
Yes.
Does the video accurately reflect the signing as you recall it?
Yeah, minus the tears.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender the video as DHT 00930 to DHT 00930.
Any objection?
Oh, Your Honor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do have to add something. The transcript has been admitted by the panel as 1D00396, and we would just ask that the video be added as .1 to that number.
That will be what we do. Thank you very much.
Can we have the exhibit number that you mentioned on the record again, please?
1D00396, and it can be public.
So this would be 396.1.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen DHT 05449 to DHT 05450, please. Mr. Covey, this is an outgoing code cable from Mr. Kushner to UN New York, dated 18 December 1999, titled Reactions to the 15 December Agreement on the Joint Interim Administrative Structures. And if we stay on the first page of this document, third paragraph from the top, it says, the Radical Party, LKCK, National Movement for the Liberation of Kosovo, on 14 December left the so-called Kosovo interim government of Mr. Thaçi when it became evident that Thaçi accepts the agreement and consequently the dissolution of the KIG. Many officials of the KIG are also unhappy with the agreement since they lose their positions, titles, and status that derive therefrom. My first question to you is, does this description correspond to your contemporaneous understanding of Mr. Thaçi's willingness to dissolve the Provisional Government of Kosovo, or KIG as it's referred to in this memo?
In general, it corresponds. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this code cable into evidence as well.
Objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05449 to 05450 is admitted.
Will be signed exhibit number 1D00408 and is classified as confidential.
It can be public.
Reclassify it as public.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen DHT 05680 to DHT 05686, please. And you'll see this is an outgoing code cable, again from Mr. Kushner to UN New York, dated 2 February 2000, concerning a meeting with Mr. Donnelly of the UK Foreign Office. If we can go to the next page, please. And at the top, it says those present for this meeting included PDSR Covey. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you recall being present at a meeting with Mr. Brian Donnelly of the UK Foreign Office on 28 January 2000?
Yes, though I confess it's not vivid.
Thank you. If we stay on this page and scroll down to the second paragraph, it purports to reflect what you said about the establishment of the JIAS. And specifically, it states the following: PDSR, which the memo identifies as you, stated that in some ways it was still 1989 in Kosovo, when the other communist states had started on the road to reform. The Balkans had gone to war, in part because the Kosovo population had not experienced the reform process. Many of them had a profound distrust of official institutions and a reflexive inclination to build parallel structures. Does what is written here reflect or refresh your recollection about your positions about the situation in Kosovo in early 2000?
Yes, and I would add as a footnote that in some ways I would have been drawing on my experience in Berlin and the reunification of Germany, where Western Germany had benefited from 30 years or more of very energetic reform, especially since the 68ers and all the student turmoil. And Eastern Germany had not. They had been schooled that all the sins of the Third Reich had been inherited by the West, and Hitler had persecuted the communists. And therefore, that kind of intellectual and social and political reform that the West had gone through had just simply not happened in Eastern Germany, and it then comes as no surprise that the strength of the far right, the skinheads, the issues of violence against minorities in the eastern part of Berlin persisted.
And
So okay, I don't mean to detour.
so what were you trying to then say in the context of Kosovo about it still being 1989?
That they had other communist states had undergone reform processes of various kinds, or their own revolution and so on. But Kosovo had simply gone from, in effect, an occupation and a war, and then boom, they are left to try to create something without much having developed since 1989, when their autonomy was revoked.
And you said they had they, meaning the population of Kosovo, had a profound distrust of official institutions and a reflexive inclination to build parallel structures. What did you mean by
After
that?
all, up until 1989, and then afterwards, they had basically administered themselves through parallel structures, and much of what we would regard as normal state services were provided through those parallel structures, everything from education to garbage collection. So yes, they were habituated to parallel structures, accomplishing what the society needed.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this document into evidence, DHT 05680 to DHT 05686, and it can be public.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT's 05680 to 05686 is admitted.
It will be assigned exhibit number 1D00409, and it's classified as public.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, could we please have on the screen DHT 05687 to DHT 05730, please? And you'll see that this is a 28 February 2000 cable from Mr. Kushner to UN New York. Subject is a draft periodic report of the Secretary General on UNMIC. Point 1 says, as discussed, please find attached a draft of the upcoming periodic report of the Secretary General on UNMIC. I had asked you earlier today whether UNMIC had a role in preparing these reports. Is what's stated in point 1 how the Secretary General reports were prepared?
Yes, and you will note in the second sentence of paragraph 2 reflected the concern that UNMIC had that other interests might fiddle with the content of the report in New York.
So if I understand correctly, you on the ground would prepare the report for the Secretary General, and then he would submit it to whom? The General Assembly?
That's to the best of our ability. That's the way we wanted it to work.
Thank you. If we could turn to page DHT 05688, please, the next page. Under paragraph 3. The report states the three major Kosovo-Albanian rival political parties are now working together in a new cooperative relationship in the Interim Administrative Council, IAC, and the Joint Interim Administrative Structure. These political parties, effectively the Rambouillet signatories, are the Democratic League of Kosovo, LDK, of Dr. Ibrahim Rugova, the Party Coalition of United Democratic Movement, LBD, of Recep Çosia, and the Party for Democratic Progress of Kosovo, PPDK, of Mr. Hashim Thaçi. At the same time, all Kosovo-Albanian parties are preparing for eventual municipal elections in the course of the year. Does this description correspond to your recollection of the political situation in Kosovo in February 2000?
Yes, yes, thank you.
And if we go to the next page, please. If we go to paragraph 12. It states, and you can read that, towards the middle of the paragraph where it says all parallel Kosovo-Albanian bodies. Do you see that?
Yes,
All parallel Kosovo-Albanian bodies declared that they ceased to exist on 31 January. The so-called ministries of the self-proclaimed interim government officially stopped their work on 31 January. However, on 31 January, the so-called parliament postponed the decision on its future, and the so-called government of the Republic of Kosovo of Prime Minister Bukoshi announced it would only suspend its work. However, if we turn the page, please. On 2 February, Dr. Rugova, the LDK president, and the presidency of the so-called parliament authoritatively declared that all of their structures had ceased to exist on 31 January. 2 days later, Mr. Bukoshi made a similar announcement. However, for many Kosovo Albanians, it has been difficult to get used to the dissolution of the parallel structures. For a number of persons who were engaged in the parallel structures, alternative employment is scarce. I had asked you earlier about Dr. Rugova holding himself out as president. Does this refresh your recollection about the LDK also, when you arrived in Kosovo, had parallel structures that they were operating?
yes,
And were you familiar at all with Mr. Bukoshi having his own parallel government?
yes. It was somehow in the background. It was less of a concern, or seemed less of a concern than the LDK structures.
Thank you. Mr. President, we have one more thing to deal with in this document. If we could go to page 7, which is DHT 05694. And I won't read it out loud, but if you can read paragraph 27, and if you could tell me whether that is consistent with your understanding of how the process of demilitarization played out.
This is the kind of information that would have been provided to us by KFOR. And yes, that's the way I would have recalled it at the time.
But this is information that you would then compile and send on to the Secretary General
Yes.
as the report of the Secretary General,
Yes.
a proposed report.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender.
And if I can add, it's information that we would want to be sure was included in the report.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I tender this document, DHT 05687 to DHT 05730.
Any objection?
Your Honor.
DHT 05687 to 05730 is admitted. Will be assigned a number.
It will be assigned with exhibit number 1D00401, and it's classified as confidential.
You said 01, you mean 10?
That's correct, Your Honor. I will repeat it, 1D00401.
No.
No, 10.
410, my apologies. I'll do it again then. 1D00410. Thank you,
Correct.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
And it can be public, Mr. President.
It will be reclassified as a public document.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have Exhibit DHT 05537 to DHT 05541 on the screen, please.
My apologies. We can have the URN once again on record.
Yes. DHT 05537 to DHT 05541.
I believe you had a different, a zero in on both of those. It's 055, you said originally 307 to 055401.
That is then my mistake. I apologize. Yeah.
Just 37 and 41.
Yes,
Correct?
it's
All right.
DHT 05537, DHT 05541. Thank you.
Got it, thank you.
Mr. Covey, it's titled June 5 Report of the Secretary General of the United Nations Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo. And then it says it's the excerpt on the KPC. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And if we can go to page 4 of this document, which is DHT 05540. And if we go to paragraph 4, the concerns of last year. It says, the concerns of last year that the whole KLA might slide into opposition and ultimately into conflict with the international community now seem remote under present circumstances. Circumstances in this region are, however, volatile. We continue to hold concerns about Mitrovica. We know that extremists have accused KPC leaders and other Albanian political figures who support the concept of, quote, giving up too soon, close quote. Ceku, Thaçi, and others have been called traitors for permitting the demilitarization of the KLA before Mitrovica and the rest of North Kosovo had been, quote, liberated, close quote. Had the KPC not provided a framework for the bulk of the ex-KLA, those forces definitely would have been drawn into the conflict, with grave consequences for the rest of Kosovo. Instead, it was KPC leaders who participated with the international community in calming the situation, putting their personal prestige on the line. My first question is, does this paragraph align with your own recollections and views of what transpired in Kosovo in 1999?
Absolutely.
Okay. My next question is, were you aware, or would you have expected General Cheku, Mr. Thaçi, and others being called traitors for permitting the demilitarization of the KLA?
It's not unexpected, as mentioned before. Making the peace is not an act or just a meeting, it's a process. And it goes forward individual by individual as they rethink the interests that had initially propelled them into conflict. Not everybody reassesses their interests at the same time or in the same way or at all. There are always some who fall off the wagon and become snipers. And we've seen it over and over again in other conflicts in the Middle East, Palestinians, in Lebanon, it is unfortunately commonplace for that kind of criticism to arise. It has to be anticipated and dealt with. So the direct answer to your question is no, not at all surprised to see that statement.
And further in the paragraph, it states that the creation of the KPC provided a framework for the bulk of the ex-KLA, and that had the KPC not provided that framework for the bulk of the ex-KLA, those forces definitely would have been drawn into the conflict with grave consequences for the rest of Kosovo. Can
Yes.
you explain a bit about how the KPC played a role in incorporating ex-KLA and defusing the situation?
It's a it is a widely understood fact of peacemaking that a huge initial challenge is simply soaking up excess young male energy. And that applies to any peacekeeping operation anywhere. That left without a sense of purpose or a means of financial and social support, former combatants will almost inevitably become a problem for the peacekeepers. So in the first instance, the KPC served the purpose you described simply by absorbing the former combatants, as we see was not done in Iraq with drastically different outcomes. So that alone may have been the biggest single factor, but the statements by Cheku and others relevant to the KPC, Mr. Thaçi was not part of the KPC structure, but the statements by Cheku and others involved in the KPC also helped. It also provided some guidance to other members of the KPC who might have been inclined to mouth off, but it sort of kept things in line.
Thank you.
Am I answering your question?
Yes, you are. Thank you very much for that. Mr. President, I tender DHT 05537 to DHT 05541.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05537 to 05541 is admitted.
It will be assigned exhibit number 1D00411, classified as confidential.
It can be public.
Reclassified as public, please.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, in paragraph 80 of your witness statement, you note that Mr. Thaçi on multiple occasions took positions that would, in, quote, many other post-conflict settings, close quote, be seen as, quote, tantamount to betrayal or have been punished quite severely politically. Did Mr. Thaçi's position with respect to demilitarization of the KLA potentially pose a dangerous position?
Absolutely, as in the terms we were earlier describing, but equally some of his statements about avoiding attacks on minorities and so on that he had made much earlier exposed him to similar risks.
And why is that?
Because at some point, the people who are reassessing their interests come to find that they have less to fear from their former adversaries than from their former friends who have not stayed with the parade.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, if we could please have, Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have DHT 05562 to DHT 05562 on the screen, please. Mr. Covey, this purports to be an organogram of the JIAS institutions. Do you see that?
Yes.
And does this organogram correspond to your recollection of what the structure of JIAS institutions was?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender DHT 05562 to DHT 05562.
Any objection?
Your Honor.
DHT 05562 to 05562 is admitted.
Will be assigned exhibit number 1D00412, and it's classified as confidential.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, you see on the screen.
Does that need to be
I'm sorry.
confidential?
No, it does not. I apologize.
Reclassified as public.
Mr. Covey, if you see on the screen there, there's a circle with dotted line, a circle composed of dotted lines that says Rambouillet 3, LDK Rugova, PPDK Thaçi, LBD Chosia, with an arrow pointing to the Kosovo portion. Do you see that?
Yes.
Earlier, you testified that the Rambouillet agreement among Messrs. Rugova, Thaçi, and Chosia remained in the background. Is it correct what this organogram says, that even into 2000, the Rambouillet, what's referred to here as the Rambouillet 3 agreement, continued to play a role in the background?
It continued to lurk in the background.
Thank you.
I wouldn't say it played an active role, but it made it easier for people to understand and for some easier to accept. But it was not a one-to-one. We were not, this is not a successor to the PGOK, the Rambouillet agreement. It simply is an image in the background.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen DHT 01310 to DHT 01310. And Mr. Kobe, as you see on the screen, this is an OSCE situation brief from the 28th of June, 1999. And if we could scroll down, please. Or go to the next page, I apologize. It says, it's headlined Kosovo News Domestic Reactions. And I appreciate that this is before you came to Kosovo, but I would still like to hear your comments on what the brief states. It says the following: in Mitrovica, Kosovo Albanian leader Hashim Thaçi reportedly diffused a potentially violent confrontation on Saturday when he stopped hundreds of people marching into the Serb-held side of the town. Mr. Thaçi persuaded the crowd to retreat. "We want to solve our problems peacefully," he said. He was accompanied by the UN Special Envoy for Kosovo, Sergio Vieira de Mello, who said the march, quote, would be a disaster, close quote, if it proceeded. Are the statements attributed to Mr. Thaçi in this report concerning inter-ethnic violence consistent with the types of statements Mr. Thaçi made after your arrival in Kosovo?
Yes, they certainly are. Can I just add
Yes.
that we did not experience the record in an entirely linear fashion. Time and events did not stop just when we arrived. It didn't just pull the parties together and give us an exact briefing of what they had done. Many of these things we learned only over time, in some cases months, even years after. So when I say today this is consistent with it, in no way do I claim to have been familiar with it at that moment, or were we briefed on it earlier when we arrived. In fact, I'm impressed to see that Mr. Thaçi's record goes back to this time, and that we cannot entirely take credit for having transformed his views, but that there was clearly a process already underway.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender DHT 01310 to DHT 01310.
Objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 01310 to 01310 is admitted.
I'll be sent with exhibit number 1D00413. If you can clarify the classification,
It
please.
needs to remain confidential at the request of the Rule 107 provider. Mr. Court Officer, if we could please have on the screen DHT 03000 to DHT 03001 ET, and the Albanian version DHT 0300 to DHT 03001. And it's in the Albanian, I believe it's in the right-hand column at the top. And this is a news article from the 26th of July, so 4 days after the Grachko incident. And it says, PGK, Provisional Government of Kosovo, condemns the murders in Grachko of Lipjan. Says it's an attempt to obstruct the stabilization process is the title. First paragraph says, regarding the murder in Grachko of Lipjan, the Provisional Government of Kosovo has issued a statement. Quote, unidentified attackers killed 14 citizens of Serb nationality in Lipjan. The Provisional Government of Kosovo condemns this grievous crime and expresses deep condolences to the victims' families. And if we scroll down to the fourth paragraph, the Provisional Government of Kosovo calls on Kosovo citizens, especially those of the Serb community, to look ahead to the future and build their welfare together with others in a free and democratic Kosovo. Kosovo has embarked on its unreserved journey of peace, stability, and prosperity for all its citizens. Now, you had earlier discussed statements that Mr. Thaçi had made concerning the Grachko incident. Is this statement of the Provisional Government of Kosovo consistent with your understanding of the types of statements that Mr. Thaçi made at the time of the incident?
Yes, even though it's not attributed directly to Mr. Thaçi, it's consistent with the kinds of things he was saying, yes.
Yes. Mr. President, I tender DHT 03000 to DHT 03001 in both the Albanian and the English.
Any objection?
There are two articles. There's a second article on the second page that was not addressed. So maybe only the first page should be admitted.
That's fine with us.
Would that be 3001? Is that the page?
It's 3000, I believe.
Okay. So DHT 03000 is admitted, plus the Albanian.
It will be admitted with 1D00414, and it's classified as public. Thank you, Your Highness.
Actually, I'm now advised that the second page also has information. Could we turn to the second page, please? Yes. If we could scroll down in the Albanian version as well, so the accused can follow. I apologize, Mr. President, I wasn't aware that this was behind it. It says, this is now dated 24 July, and the title is Mr. Thaçi's saying, "We will not allow anarchy to prevail in Kosovo." And it concerns a visit by a group of American congressmen and senators led by Mrs. Tilly Fowler at the Provisional Government of Kosovo. My first question is, do you have any recollection of a delegation of senators and congressmen coming to Kosovo towards the end of July?
Not specifically, but we had a number of delegations, and I will admit that things were a bit of a blur that early on. So I assume I would have had some knowledge of it, but they may not have visited UNMIK.
Thank you. And if we go down to the third paragraph, it says, talking about the murder of 14 Serb citizens in the vicinity of Lipjan, Mr. Thaçi said that this is happening due to a vacuum created as a consequence of delays in establishing the police force. This act has worried us, and we will not allow anarchy to prevail in Kosovo. Is that consistent with your recollection of how Mr. Thaçi treated such incidents of violence against ethnic minorities?
The statement of "we will not allow anarchy," yes. The criticism of the establishing of the police is an easy and common complaint that is made in the initial days of a peacekeeping mission. We had exactly the same problem and heard very much the same complaints, even from NATO, in the early days of the Bosnia exercise.
Well, just as a factual matter, at this time, 24 July 1999, were there in fact delays and problems in establishing police forces?
Absolutely. Most of the existing police force had been Serbs. The Kosovar Albanians had largely been squeezed out of the police force. The OSCE was leading efforts to create a police academy that was moving quickly. They were beginning to take or identify applicants, but that would take months, even though they did it in record speed. And the supply of international police officers was very slow in coming. So there was a real problem with fielding police. Not to mention that the armed force, that KFOR, was largely, effectively forbidden to perform police activities, law enforcement activities.
Thank you. Mr. President, I now propose to add this page to the just admitted Exhibit 1D00414.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
The additional page can be added to 1D00414.
Thank you, Your Honors. In that case, DHT 03000 to DHT 03001, English version, and associated Albanian version will be assigned exhibit number 1D00414, and it's classified as public. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you very much. If we could please have Mr. Court Officer on the screen DHT 05746 to DHT 05753, please. And Mr. Covey, you see on the screen, this is another code cable from Mr. Kushner to UN New York, 28 December 1999, concerning the third meeting of the Interim Administrative Council. If you look at the from line, you see initials there. Do you
Yes,
recognize the initials?
It has me signing or initialing for Kushner.
Thank you. Would that indicate that you read or participated in preparation?
Yes.
If we could go to the second page of this document, please, DHT 05747. And if this is now the minutes of the 28 December 1999 meeting, and if we can go to section 2A, there it says Mr. Covey offered for discussion an enlarged list of administrative departments. Does that refresh your recollection of whether you attended the meeting?
Yes.
And did you attend?
Yes.
If we move to page 3, please, DHT 05748. There is a point D titled Any Other Business. And in the second paragraph, it states as follows. Short conclusions of the meeting were agreed. Mr. Thaçi proposed that these conclusions also include a strong condemnation of the violent attack in Vitina on 27 December. Does Mr. Thaçi's proposal for a strong condemnation by the IAC of a violent incident in Vitina correspond to your recollection of Hashim Thaçi's response to such violence?
Yes, but I can't claim to recall what's the specifics of the attack on Vitina.
Yes, thank you. Mr. President, I tender this document into evidence. DHT 05746 to DHT 05753.
Objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05746 to 05753 is admitted.
This will be assigned exhibit number 1D00415, and it's classified as confidential.
It can be public.
Reclassified as public.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, could we please have on the screen DHT 05588 to DHT 05588, please? And this is a briefing note, visit of SRSG Sergio Vieira de Mello, 12 July 1999, to the Kosovo Polje Roma School. Do you see that?
Yes.
Immediately to the right of that, in handwriting, it says Mr. Kushner, Mr. Covey. Do you know why it would say that?
Well, we would arrive in 3 days, and clearly someone is setting things aside to pass along to us on arrival.
Thank you. Do you have any recollection right now of having read this note at the time?
No, I have to say that we were trying to swim in a whirlpool, drinking from the fire hose, whatever metaphor you choose. This is the kind of thing that I would have faced somewhere buried in a stack of yet to read memos at 11 or 12 o'clock at night on a 16-hour day. I don't have a clear recollection of this memo, but it's consistent with the kinds of things we were briefed.
When you look at the handwriting there, could you make out what it says underneath your name, Mr. Kushner, Mr. Covey?
Oh, it seems to say on arrival.
And what do
for
you?
Information, or file, and the S initial. I don't know who that would. I don't know who that would be.
So is it that, how do you interpret the words Mr. Kushner, Mr. Covey on arrival?
That they had for us a huge stack of material that had been generated that they could hand off and feel that part of their job had been done by passing the baton.
Understood.
I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
Yes, you are. You absolutely did. Thank you. I'd like to read a part of this note related to the relations between Roma and ethnic Albanian populations in Kosovo. And the second paragraph says, a large portion of the Roma lived in and among ethnic Albanian villages, sending their children to Albanian schools, but politically supporting the Serb authorities in Kosovo. Due to this disparity, the Roma are especially reviled by ethnic Albanians, who feel very much betrayed. In the area of Pristina, in particular, the Roma were recruited in large numbers by the VJ and MUP, sometimes under duress, but oftentimes voluntarily, to fill the vacuum left by the deployment of forces to border areas and other hotspots. Roma support of Serbs and participation in their activities against the ethnic Albanians is vividly remembered. It is unclear how many Roma have been expelled from their homes and settlements. However, many pockets of displaced Roma are being discovered throughout the province. Oftentimes, Roma are expelled or threatened, not necessarily by known neighbors, but those who have been displaced themselves or who return to find their houses burned and destroyed and move into other strange neighborhoods where tensions can flare more easily. Thus, the threat of persecution in itself seems to be enough to precipitate flight with the current atmosphere of ethnic tension that is so widespread in Kosovo today. Mr. Covey, does the description in those two paragraphs of the tensions between the ethnic Albanian population and the Roma population accord with your recollection of what you may have understood to be the situation in July of 1999.
When you say it that way, yes. But I'd also note that almost everybody found some excuse for persecuting the Roma.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, you could sweep your arm across Europe, and almost everywhere they are in a bit of a bind for whatever is the local reason for being unhappy with the presence of Roma. But my recollection is that the Serbs were happy to instrumentalize the Roma where they could, but they were not their friends.
Yes. Now, would you have any reason to dispute what's written here in handwriting, that this document may have been provided to you and Mr. Kushner on your arrival, whether you read it or not?
No, I wouldn't dispute it, and it's a little academic for me to add footnotes to it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President, I tender this document into evidence DHT 05588 to DHT 05588.
Objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05588 to 05588 is admitted.
And will be assigned exhibit number 1D00416, and it's classified as confidential.
It can be public.
Reclassified as public, please.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, could we please have on the screen SITF 4000637 to 4000639, please? Mr. Covey, you see that this is an outgoing facsimile dated 24 June 1999 from the SRSG Sergio Vieira de Mello to UN New York. If we look at numbered paragraph 1, and you can start with the first sentence. As I have mentioned in frequent telephone conversations, I am increasingly worried that the rate at which staff and other support is being provided to the operation is not keeping pace with the rapidly evolving events and emerging needs on the ground. I believe we are approaching a point where, in the absence of extraordinary measures to allow for the immediate deployment of additional staff, UNMIC's immediate and longer-term effectiveness will be undermined. If we go to the last sentence, apart from staffing, civilian police is another area of particular concern. Now, what's written there, does that correspond to your understanding of UNMIC's staffing shortages in June 1999 before you became the DSRSG?
Yes, and it was still pretty much the case when we arrived in July.
Okay. And if we scroll to the very last point in the document, which is on page 3, sorry, it should be paragraph 8, so the last page then. Yes, thank you. Thank you. He writes, a related urgent need is for civilian police. K4 have reiterated on numerous occasions that their ability to stop theft, looting, to handle detainees, and even prevent isolated murders is very restricted. If the emerging atmosphere of lawlessness is allowed to prevail for another month pending the arrival of civilian police, it will be hard to reverse. Does this paragraph correspond to your understanding of the staffing shortages of civilian police in June 1999 before you became the DSRSG?
Yes, to all practical purposes, there were no civilian police. There were a few people who would eventually form the nucleus of a police department, but the hundreds that would be needed to provide rudimentary policing were still months and months away.
And does what is reflected here about the situation in June 1999, did that staffing shortage of civilian police still exist when you arrived at your post in July of 99?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender SITF 4000637 to 4000639.
No, Your Honor, it can be public.
SITF 4000637 to 4000639 is admitted and is reclassified as public.
Thank you, Your Honors. It will be assigned with exhibit number 1D00417. I'll say it again, 1D00417. It's classified as public. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you very much. Mr. Court Officer, could we please have on the screen DHT 05436 to DHT 05437, please?
If I may ask for the ERN again, please.
I'm sorry, DHT 05436 to DHT 05437. Mr. Covey, you see on the screen that this is an outgoing code cable dated 4 August 1999 from Mr. Kushner to UN New York. The subject is daily sit rep for 3 August 1999. And if we scroll down to the second point on this page, paragraph number 2, under the heading Civil Administration, he writes, 3 newly appointed judges, ethnic Albanians, resigned in Prizren in protest at being asked to apply pre-24 March 1999 laws. It appears that their decision is not based on a coordinated political move, but rather on personal views. Do you know what the position of Albanian judges was with respect to application of the pre-24 March 1999 laws?
Yes.
And what is your understanding of their position?
Once their preference would have been to apply the law as codified before 1989, when Serbia revoked the relative autonomy of Kosovo, and at that point insisted that the laws of Serbia would apply in Kosovo. It was not a matter, as we understood it, of whether one code called for the death sentence and another did not, or whether business law was more up to date in one rather than the other. It was simply that the post-1989 law was regarded as an instrument of occupation and degradation. So the judges felt, they thought that the post-1989 law was repugnant, but they also feared that if they could themselves stomach it, they might still put themselves or their families at risk. And so either for their either as a kind of legal judgment, as a political judgment, or as a personal fear, we lost every Kosovar jurist as a result of this. There was a major bone of contention with the legal advisor in New York.
And who was that, do you recall?
Hans Corell, and he was applying a well-known tenet of international law that in an occupied territory, the law that should be applied would be that immediately preceding the occupation. As, for instance, in the West Bank, though it's not honored, you could go back to the British mandatory law, would be the law that should be applied. In this case, we advised New York, including Hans Corell, that it was not practical, and that and without a judiciary, UNMIC's mission would fail. That we already were warehousing prisoners in jails that were woefully inadequate, with no ability to bring those accused to trial. This persisted for months with this standoff until I think December of that year, when it came to a head in a meeting with Kofi Annan and foreign ministers of the contact group, I think in Turkey, a meeting called for a different purpose, but this was on the sidelines, when it was finally resolved. But it was a very, very difficult issue for UNMIC. I went back to New York myself to plead the case with Hans Corell, and I believe Kushner did the same on a different trip of his own, and we were getting nowhere dealing directly with the legal advisor. It took Kofi Annan to overrule him.
Thank you, Mr. Covey. If I could show you another portion of this document. It's paragraph 5 concerning policing. Now, in this paragraph, it says the recruitment process for the Kosovo Police Service is advancing at a satisfactory speed. 17,000 to 18,000 applications have already been returned, including 3,000 from UÇK members. The problem of United Nations civilian police officers who do not meet the minimum requirements to fulfill their tasks remains a major concern, as it could have negative implications for the performance and credibility of the UN civilian police component. Do you recall an issue with UN civilian police officers not meeting minimum requirements to fulfill their tasks?
A bit of context. The civilian police would be provided by supporting nations, everybody from the United States, Germany, the UK, etc., but also anybody else in the United Nations who had police that they might offer. In the developed world, the process seemed to go slowly. Police officers are not necessarily eager to go to a difficult place and do a difficult job. And in some underdeveloped, less developed areas, the process seemed to go faster because, if only because the pay might be better or the opportunities for advancement might be better. So the folks we got from less developed nations were not necessarily well-schooled in modern police technique, were not necessarily deeply committed to ethical policing, and so on and so forth. And I don't want to get into which nations. In fact, I may not clearly recall which, but we had a number of instances of officers behaving in odd ways, either not responding to things they should have or making demands that were unbecoming to a police officer. So yes, it was a problem.
Thank
But
you.
yes.
And if we could go to paragraph 6, please. Here, he writes, UN civilian police patrols in Pristina are expected to start within the next 2 weeks. However, the absence of detention facilities could hamper the effectiveness of their work. Resolution of this is an urgent matter. And I believe you just mentioned the issue of...
Yes. There was a logjam that it was not that there were no arrests being made yet. We had a workaround with the British forces, specifically in Pristina, following a model they had created in Northern Ireland, where a military patrol, which by law was forbidden to perform strictly law enforcement duties, would be accompanied by a single police officer, often just trailing the unit. And if something occurred that seemed to require an arrest, they would bring the police officer forward to do the necessary formality and cart the person off to the jail and continue patrolling. That provided something of a workaround for some weeks, so the jails were filling up. So we would have, if we needed to resolve the what we call the rule number 1 fiasco in order to clear the jails and process them through the courts.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this document, DHT 05436 to DHT 05437, and it can be public.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
DHT 05436 to 05437 is admitted and reclassified as public.
Thank you, Your Honor. It will be admitted as exhibit number 1D00418. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Covey, today it is time for our lunch break.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll be an hour and a half. We'll be back here at 2:30. Please enjoy your lunch break,
Thank you.
and do not discuss your case with anyone outside the courtroom.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're adjourned until 2:30.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Please bring the witness in, Madam Court Officer. We have about 2 hours left, but we will take a break after 1 hour, like we did this morning, for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Mr. Misitich.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome back again, Mr. Covey. Mr. Court Officer, if I could please have on the screen DHT 05550 to DHT 05552, please. And this is an UNMIC interoffice memorandum. It has a date on it, it's hard to see, but 27 October. And then there's a stamp of, looks like a receipt stamp of 28 October, 1999. And if we look at the first page, we can see that it is from Mr. Yari Lohi, head of the Penal Management Section. And in CC there, you see it has Jack Covey. Do you see that?
Yes.
If we look at the first page, sorry, the first two paragraphs on the first page, if we scroll down, are not very legible. But if we move to that third paragraph, it states the following. As we have explained previously, the department will be unable to assume control of any prison until such time as we are properly equipped and confident that we can fund operations of a penal institution properly. The plans have been formulated to date. The plans that have been formulated to date have all had specific target dates that have had to be rescheduled by issues over which we have no direct control. Therefore, in light of our inability to resolve these various questions and requirements, the department is not in a position, if we can go to the next page, the department is not in a position to offer a specific date for the takeover of any prison facility until certain preconditions have been satisfied. My first question to you is, do you recall anything about this issue or having received this memorandum?
I don't recall the memorandum specifically, but I'm well acquainted with the general issue.
And were there any difficulties with the takeover of prison facilities in Kosovo?
Yes. There were a few facilities to start with, and they were not well equipped nor very well staffed, and it took time to get that right.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender the document into evidence. DHT 05550 to DHT 05552, and it can be public.
No, you're
Microphone.
DHT 05550 to 05552 is admitted and will be public. Please assign a number.
Thank you, Your Honor. The number will be 1D00419, and as mentioned, it's going to be public. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, could we please have on the screen DHT 05959 to DHT 05959? Mr. Everts, this is an OSCE memorandum dated the 2nd of August, 1999, about a meeting in Ferazai, Uroshevats, between the LDK and KLA. And if we could go to the bottom, scroll down, please. The memo states as follows: the LDK has complained about being excluded by the KLA from any leadership role of meaning. On 17 June, there was a meeting between the LDK and the KLA, which the LDK stated had not been productive. On 22 June, an HR team met with the president of the LDK in Ferazai, at which he requested OSCE to organize a meeting between the two groups and try and resolve their differences. The request was approved by OSCE and the meeting scheduled for 2 August 99. Action taken. The meeting proceeded on schedule at 10 o'clock today. Present included KLA, LDK, LBD, and other interested individuals. It quickly became apparent that the problem was not that the KLA would not communicate with the LDK, but that it was about whom should control what in the municipality and who should be present at the meeting. The KLA appealed to the LDK to be part of the leadership of the municipality, but were informed by them that they could not be active in the community without consultation with their political committee. We can stop there, and I'll wait for the interpreters to finish. Now, were you aware, Mr. Kobe, of any difficulties that the LDK had in the summer of 1999 in terms of their ability to make decisions concerning their political positions in Kosovo?
As a general matter, they seemed nearly paralyzed by the absence of Rugova from the country. I'm not aware of this specific, I was not at the time aware of this specific issue, and it appears that OSCE was trying to handle it on their own, or at least facilitate on their own. But the LDK generally was having some difficulty organizing itself.
Thank you. Mr. President, I tender this document into evidence. DHT 05959 to DHT 05959.
Objection.
Yes, Your Honor, the witness didn't comment on the document, and he didn't seem to have any recollection of this event.
I believe he provided context about the issues generally with the LDK in making decisions.
DHT 05959 to 05959 is admitted. The objection's overruled. It is marginally relevant, but admitted.
It will be assigned exhibit number 1D00420, and it's currently classified as confidential.
Can be public.
Thank you.
reclassified as public.
Thank you. Mr. Covey, that concludes my direct examination. Mr. President, that concludes my direct examination. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Dixon,
Thank you, Your Honours. I have no questions.
Mr. Roberts. I'm sorry, Mr. Tully.
Sorry, we have no questions for the witness. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis.
We have no questions either at this time, Your Honor.
It appears I was wrong, Mr. Comey. We are finished now with today because we have to wait for cross-examination tomorrow based upon an issue. So we thank you for being with us today. We hope you can rest this afternoon and this evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And with any luck, we will finish with you tomorrow.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you for being with us. Do not speak about this case with anybody outside the courtroom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Your Honor, we are back in public session.
We're adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow.
All rise.